So something that I tried really hard to do with the London Accessibility Meetup is to make sure that we're not just always talking about accessibility being about code. So we've had lots of talks about design, we've had lots of talks, we've had a few talks about code, we've had talks about assistive technology, we've now had some talks about research. I'm really excited because this is going to be our first talk about content. So I've been chatting with Sarah for probably about 6 months now, trying to get Sarah to come and speak, and we finally managed to get a date that worked. Sarah was the head of content at Government Digital Service, and literally transformed or helped to transform how government is approaching writing content. And content plays such a huge, huge part in making services and information accessible. So I'm hugely, hugely excited and grateful for Sarah coming to talk. So if you welcome Sarah to the stage, she's going to talk to you about accessibility and usability.
Thank you, Alistair. Hello. The fact that this is the first content one that you've had isn't making me massively nervous at all. So any of the shaking, just ignore it. Okay, so today I'm actually going to repeat a little bit of what you've heard, so you may find me talking really fast and skipping over some slides because I don't want to bore you. But we are going to talk about today accessibility being usability from a content bias, okay? That is entirely my bias. For me, accessibility is finding the right information at the right time. And I'm going to give you some examples of that. So, or at least it starts with finding it at the right time. So I'm going to show you a page. When GDS first started, when GovUK first started, we did some research on passports. Now people, if you are an adult in the UK and you want to renew your adult passport, so you've already got one, it's running out, you're going to get a new one, you actually do the task in 2 steps. First of all, you find out the price, then you go and do the application or go and look at how to do the application, usually on a different device and at a later time. We know this. We knew this from research, right? So at the time, so before GDS started, there was a site called DirectGov. Does anybody remember that? So, massive orange affair, wasn't it? You've got orange everywhere. You've got a bit of black. You've got some grey. If you had typed into DirectGov, into Google, renew adult passport, you would have got to this page, this navigation page. Now, so from research, we know that you're looking for the price. You get hit by this massive orange and white wall of text, and I could ask you to just have a look, but actually it's not even on that page. So in the second one down, second massive, third massive orange thing, it's actually in here, and it was kind of third paragraph down, buried, the price, okay? When we started GovUK, it said that everything had to be on user needs. And everything had to be in the journey of user needs. So if a user needed something that was on a channel, we would give it to them. GovUK doesn't see traffic, or didn't, I should say. GovUK didn't see traffic as a metric. Doesn't need to, it's government, right? It's what, 46 million a month or something? Huge numbers, doesn't matter. So we don't need to do that. And the way that we were thinking about it was, if that's what people need, we need to give them that information up front and centre. So we created a page like this, and I'm really sorry, I'm going to drink loads as well. Oh, not like that. Created a page like this. Design, obviously, completely different from the one before. Not massive orange, white, black, and grey all over the place. It's black, white with blue. And the price of the passport is in the first sentence under the heading. So at this point, it was £72.50. So we know that people could get on this page, find the thing that they wanted, and leave, because that was the point. We understood that it was being done in 2 parts. Now, when this was first done, this is what Google page would have looked like, your Google results page. And on the 4th result down, on your usual Google, you would be able to see the price is in the search results. There is a search results strategy. That's accessibility right there. That's usability right there. if you have a sight impairment, why would you need to trawl through a massive orange and white website or loads of content when actually all you want is a price? That's not the point. So you can see it's right there. Content will only work if it's where your audience is when they want it. There's no point in making them trawl through vast quantities of stuff that could cause them pain or at least discomfort. Now, have you ever heard of a technique called secret usability? No? I bet by the time I show you a few examples, you would have had several of these experiences. Imagine that you've done a transaction that involves finance. Yeah, you've had to put in your credit card and you are presented with a screen like this. It's just on the screen, all you have is the logo across the top, which I've cut out to save their blushes, massive device plan, and then your device plan has been settled, and some weird looking icon in the corner, which is a kind of weird looking rectangle with a gap and a pound sign in it. Now, can you guess what's just happened to your cash? Anybody guess?
Paid it.
You've what, sorry?
Paid it.
You've paid what?
For the thing that you've...
For the thing that you've done. What this actually means is your phone is in the post and it'll be with you in 3 to 5 days. Now, I'm of average intelligence, but I can tell you I'm not really getting that message from there. Yeah, I'll show you another one. So the whole page on this is disgusting, so I'm showing you a very, very small part of it, to be brutally honest. The bit that I would like you to concentrate is that sentence, send my pre-overdue notices by, and then there's a drop down, which, by the way, is inaccessible in this instance. Could you guess what that's about? Anyone? Yep.
Just a normal bill.
Normal bill, no.
Send me a bill. Right.
No, close, but yeah, I can see why, but no. Any other guesses? Yep. Are you a content person? Are you working at a library?
No, I used to.
There you go. Normally when I do this at content conferences, everybody goes, yes, I know. But any other conferences, they don't do it. Yes, what that's actually saying is we will send you an alert 3 days before your book is due back at the library. Again. Okay, I'm going to show you my last one, the penultimate one. This is my absolute favourite of all time. If you got a screen that says Service Error Protocol 20225 in red, no less, what do you think has just happened? Sorry?
Payment has been declined.
Yes. What it actually means is, it's actually quite serious, this one. Your card has been reported for fraud. There's only one telephone number in the UK you can call to get it unblocked because your identity has probably been nicked. Quite serious. Not really getting that from there. That telephone number that you need to call isn't even on that page. You have to go searching for it. So that's what I mean by secret usability. Basically, if usability is a secret, it's not usable. However, the second point I'd like to make is that accessibility is structure and language. Obviously, I'm biased. Yes, we all just take that as a caveat. We do kind of accessibility audits, not in a code sense or in a design sense, but only the words. It's only the actual content that we do. I'm going to show you an entirely fictitious example to save my clients' blushes. So this page has a title, Felis Catus, right? It's got a picture. That's actually my cat, Millie, which is famous. There's 185 words in one big block of serif text. It's quite small. You've got some random rectangle at the bottom with a triangle in it, and then you've got two little rectangles at the bottom on the other side. One's green and has an arrow facing one way, and one's red and has an arrow facing the other way. Now, when we're asked to do accessibility audits, we'll run through it and we'll do all the guidelines. So we'll do WCAG A, AA, AAA, and then you get Content Design London's. If this was just at A standards, there's 4 comments on it. Yeah, you can probably guess which. I'm sitting in a room full of experts, I'm not going to do that. If you do, sorry about that, I didn't realise that was still on there. He's been mucking about. If you had AA, if you had a AA, then you would get 12. Stop that, seriously, you're making me feel sick. And if you had AAA, then you would have, she says, no, you had 9 if it was AA and 12 if it was AAA, yeah? If you had the Sarah Special, you would get 22. Reasons being, literally hating that. There we are. Reasons being, the guidelines go so far and they're really helpful and I love them and I love whacking them at people. Just have a look at that because that's the thing that you should be taking care of. If they see accessibility as a tick box exercise, I don't see it like that. But if that's the way that I need to open the conversation with them, I will use it. The reason that you get so many comments from us is because we take everything into account. So for example, my favorite rant, people do who does search engine optimization? Who's an SEO person? You are the most underutilized person in the industry as far as I can tell. People do this thing, particularly in organizations that I've worked with, where they say, yeah, SEO, we'll just put it at the end. We'll just shoehorn some keywords in and we'll pop them on the end and then we'll be #1 in Google, right? Not even true. Using that language, using those tools to get your user vocabulary can speed things up. When people are looking at a page, you have the language processing center that usually sits in the back left of your head, unless you have a lesion on the brain and then it can move about, but generally it's back left. And when you look at a page, you're looking for the word that's sitting in your brain. If you can't see it on the page, you start to think, am I on the right page? Then you could bounce out and you could go to a competitor. If you're selling trainers, you've lost your person and that's it. If you're government, there is a problem here. So when I'm talking to these people and I'm trying to open up their minds to accessibility, I'll have some really bizarre conversations where people think it's a tick box exercise, it costs too much, all the things you've already heard, so I'm not going to go into that. But I will say, okay, jargon. Let's talk about jargon. Who loves jargon? Okay, good. Okay, so please leave. No, I'm only joking. I'm only joking, but we need to chat, right? Okay, good. So, jargon for accessibility, I would say people may not understand the jargon, the terms that you're using, and you could alienate them. Okay, because that's not okay, and it's in the AAA. For usability, I would say people may not understand it, and you could alienate them. Because it's the same thing, right? For titles we're going to go into in a little bit. For accessibility, I would say they help people scan the page. They can decide whether they're going to put time, effort, energy, pain potentially, into your page. Luke Rabowski did a study and said within 14 seconds 90% of people are scrolling. There are 297 different types of page width now. There is no fold. They will scroll, they will move, they will find out if you are on the right page, if I'm going to get what I need from this page. So from accessibility point of view, I would say you need to help them. Use headings that tell a story, pull the eye down, understand. For usability, I'd say they help people scan the page so they can decide what to read or not. You see where I'm going with this, right? The last one that I'm going to do for video, at the very least, use captions, transcripts. So anybody with a hearing impairment can still access the content. Most people can get hold of this one. Bizarrely, this is the easiest one that I find. Because for usability, anybody who doesn't have headphones on a bus also can't access your content. So for me, these words are kind of interchangeable and I can pull them across from a content standpoint. Do you know how the brain accesses information when you first see it? If you don't have a visual impairment, when you first look at a page, within the first 1 or 2 milliseconds, what you will see is massive blocks of grey or black. But they are just blocks. That's all you can see. A couple of milliseconds on, and you will get your heading, and any kind of graphic that's on the top will start to come through for you. Milliseconds on, and then your letters first start to form. Now you make a decision subconsciously up to 7 seconds before you make a conscious decision. Bonkers. They put loads of people in MRI machines, scanned their brains and found that out. It's a crazy state of affairs. But the fact is, when you start looking at a page, you are making decisions about whether you want to read it or not, how you feel about it. When you make decisions, it goes through the amygdala, the bit in the brain, the kind of almond-shaped bit, which is all about emotion. It's how do I feel about this? So if you are giving people walls of text like this, imagine what the feeling is, right? Do I want to go through that, particularly in this case, for something that's about cats? Probably not. So we would say, horrific, that thing. So we would say, would you like to look at that, it's not scrolling, 185 word wall of text and a little picture, or don't do it, that. So you have a title that makes sense, History of Cats and Humans. That other bit of text that I ripped off on the other thing, it's actually about the history of cats and their behaviour with humans. You've got one sentence, we would say around 24 words. When you start getting longer than that, you lose people with any kind of cognitive impairment. Then space, white space, love some white space. What happens is the brain goes, oh, that's not as complicated as I thought it was going to be. I will take care of this a little bit more. Bullet points are everybody's friend. If the line lights are correct and your designers have done their jobs properly and it all looks very lovely. There is something about line, the way that you go down the lines and the line skipping, but your designers will probably be able to tell you far more than I can. But it opens up the page. You can also pull people's eye down the page because what you're saying is this is not going to overwhelm you. The rectangles on the bottom of the screen, obviously, if you put big words, play and video on it and make it accessible to the code or make the code accessible for that, you are laughing. And then a title underneath, 3-minute video. If you tell people how long it is, regardless of whether they have an impairment or not, you have managed their expectations. In terms of government, charity, really sticky kind of content, tricky content, this can calm people down massively because they understand where the edges are, they understand where the end is. And then it says 3-minute video of cats chasing their tails, includes British Sign Language and captions. So again, you are managing expectations. All of that, you could argue, was accessibility. You could argue it's usability. I just think it's good content. It's just managing those expectations. In terms of headings, they tell a story. If you, again, managing expectations, so when people go into a page, you've all seen the F-shaped pattern, have you? For people without visual impairments. So the first 2 sentences on the page are orientation. Am I going to get what I want? Basically. Then everybody goes down the left-hand side if you are on a big enough screen, not small screens, obviously. You read headings, or you can listen to headings to find out where are the edges of this content, where's the story, what am I going to get from you? That helps people make a decision about whether they want to go through the process of reading all your content or listening to all your content and what they're going to get out at the end of it. That will help them with trust, and it will help them with your satisfaction ratings. Bullet points allow space for the mind to understand. If it's not overwhelming, you don't feel overwhelmed, so you can take it in much more easily. There's loads of academic studies on this. If you just go into Google Scholar, put away, I don't know, maybe 2 days, because that's how long it'll take you. Academics, as far as I can tell, just wake up in the morning and decide who to argue with. So you might need to read quite a lot and make some decisions about what you believe, but there's loads about how people move into a page. They'll take a look at that space and they'll go, ah, I'm going to be calm, I'm going to read a bit more, rather than, ah, and then I'm going to go. Generally, people want to understand. They don't want to marvel at your language skills. Unless you're an author and you're showing off your prose and you're showing off your language skills, which is fair enough, in which case, carry on. But most people don't want to. They want to do a thing, even if that thing is, I don't know, listen to a comedian on a podcast or watch cats going around on robotic hoovers or whatever it is that they want to do. They want to do that thing. They don't want to marvel at your amazing language skills or the way that you can mangle the English language. So for me then, so to help people understand this sort of, do you have that problem, or do you just walk into work and go accessibility and then they all do it? No? Is that slightly hysterical after? Good. Okay, so this bit will be relevant to you then. I asked them to find a relevant pain, which sounds a bit ridiculous. If I know a client quite well, I will say to them, you know that skiing accident you had last year? Remember how painful that was? Imagine that in your hands, imagine that in your eyes, imagine that anywhere, and then let's take a look at your content. If I don't know them very well, I will start with something of mine and then see if I can get them to give me a story that they're comfortable to give me. So for example, I get migraines. In the space of 15 minutes, I can go from this to losing 95% of my vision, and I get vertigo. Vertigo, very funny if you're at home. You're walking along and you just kind of go splat and then go, well, I gotta lay down for 3 days, let's go. So this is fine. If you're walking along Westminster Bridge with hundreds of tourists and students and people trying to get to work, terrifying, right? But most people that I work with, they know someone who has a migraine. They understand that it's not posh word for a headache. So they can start to pull in those kind of stories. They can start to say, oh, okay, so I know this person with X, and it's like, yeah, that. Let's start the conversation there. Because for me, sitting on Westminster Bridge waiting for somebody to come and pick me up because I have literally fallen over at 10 o'clock in the morning, hoping that the police don't think I'm drunk. I can do that, that's fine, that's temporary for me. It's still disabling, actually. And some people live with this all day, every day. So it's just kind of opening up that conversation. Number 2 is put your content on a teeny screen and put a glare on it. I love glare. I don't know why. It just seems to be the fastest thing ever. You know, I don't know if you've got these, but have you got the ones where it's got a kind of matte screen thing? Rip that off for a start. Grab a torch and put, only if you're happy to do this, obviously. I wouldn't do it with your boss who's really grumpy, because that's no good. I have done this where a client has sat there and I have got another person's, a developer's phone, put the torch on, leant on it, and then went, can you read that? Can you read that 4,500 word thing? It sounds ridiculous. It just sounds so childish and stupid. But actually, if you have people who are blocking, sometimes showing them how stupid things can be can start moving that conversation along. It depends on whether you have any dignity. I don't. I'm all good. It's entirely up to you. The next one I would say is always ask them to imagine adding a child, cat, dog, distraction, some sort of distraction. Again, no shame. And clients that I know quite well, I have kind of leant over them and gone, me, 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 in their just because I can. And they kind of expect me to do this after they've known me for about a week and a half. So adding a distraction is normal. Yeah, Google did a study, 76% of the time that you are using one device, you have another one on the go. You know when you're watching TV and you're tweeting about the bake-off, yeah? So is everybody else. That's still an accessibility need, that's still a usability need, right? Because everybody's doing it all the time. Even with tasks like, for me, finding the nearest chemist, I've got a little card that I can shove in their faces and they give me medication for the migraines. I can't do it unless I have that card and I can get to a chemist. So my distraction is not being able to see or walk. But those distractions, again, it's just opening up that conversation. And the last one is imagine your hands hurt. So I'll do all sorts of things. Have you done the thing with 2 gloves and you put beans down it? And said, there you go, now try and get through your service. Now let's try and have you pick those buttons out, because I bet you can't. And you've had stacks of stats this evening about how many people that affects, so I won't bother with those. So then I would say, now go use your content. So I'll have these conversations, and people will go, well, it's very expensive, isn't it? All right. And lots of content is expensive. We do this, we do value mapping. So this is something you can do. Please tweet me when you've done it. You can do it in DM, it's very fun. Well, I find it very funny. You can put your entire workflow to produce content out in steps. Yeah, do it really granular, really granular, okay? And I would do it for your simplest bit of content, your most difficult bit of content, and then some sort of interactive content, yeah, a tool, a calculator, a calendar, whatever that is. So I would run this on a couple of things. Then you work out how much time people spend on it, and be honest. Everybody will say, ooh, proofing a document, 20 minutes. Ask them to log it, it will be about 4 hours. And then there's the chatting and moaning about the author. You could include that. I would say include that. So you need to work that out. Then you need to work out the salary. Don't guess people's salaries, right? It's naughty, people don't like it, but on the internet, generally, when you advertise a job, you will have a salary range, yeah? Just take the middle. You're just going for an estimate. If you start trying to get into locked HR files, you are in deep trouble. Don't do it. So you can work that out, and you can work out how much money it takes and how much time it takes, and then you can work out actually how much cash it takes. Now this is American. I do this around the world with organisations around the world. Americans actually have it quite cheap. Theirs are only about $1,000. Which is actually quite cheap. In the UK, it's an average, I've found, of £2,000 to £2,500. If you add legal or government, Alistair, it tops 8 grand for each page. And I'm not even joking. Most of it is around sign-off. The world and his wife has an opinion on content. Does that happen in your organisation? It's like, everybody needs to see it, the CEO needs to sign it off. No, they don't. If you have content people who know what they're doing, no, they don't. Unless they don't have content people, in which case, yes, they do. That's how much content costs you to produce. If you are literally spending £2,000 to £2,500 per piece of content on your website, and most of you have probably got over 1,000 or near 1,000, how can you tell me that you can't do accessibility? Because I don't believe you. Also need to have a look at that cliff. You know the stats that you look at, where you've got your top pages, they're performing really well, and then that one? Yeah? When you have these down here, you need to look at them, see if they're relevant and actually written really badly, or they're performed really badly, or they're displayed very badly. Then get rid of them and start putting something that is more meaningful on it. Start having a look at what channel should you be on. In what format should you be displaying this information? And then ask yourself, actually, is it worth it? For you, for your organisation. So we did value mapping with Shelter, the homeless charity. Now theirs wasn't huge, to be fair. They're quite efficient. But I said to the Director of Innovation there, I said, that money? I said, is that worth it for you? And he said, to get a homeless person off the street, yes. And then some. Because for him, that value is. But for other people, traffic, just traffic, numbers, no good. I would say you need to measure the intention of the piece. And the intention comes down from that discovery piece. Why are users there? Why should they be there? And what are they trying to achieve? So for an example, this is a GovUK page. The intention of this page is that 80% of people want the number in the great big green box at the top, which is 20%. For this, it's VAT rates. This is a short form page I'm not sure if they're all still like this now, but the original intention of a short form page was a high bounce rate. That's success. Now, a lot of people, particularly SEO people, will be like, because it's a terrible metric. It's not. In this instance, we want people to go in, spend 5 seconds on it, and leave. You can do other things on these pages, but success for those pages is a high bounce rate, and it's to leave, because we're measuring the intent, or we were measuring the intention, not the outcome, if you see what I mean. This is a page from Citizens Advice. It has a block of text, it has bullet points, it has a box pulling out a worth remembering thing, a kind of example, and then it's got these what do you call it, progressive reveals or accordions? You know, the ones that open out and the text is in? Everybody calls them something different. Language, people, it's important. Progressive reveals, let's say, you hit the title and then it opens up and more content comes out underneath it. The success metric for this page was high returning visits and opening one of those progressive reveals, because it was about a benefit that took 13 months to get through. So we knew our audience and we knew that they needed to come back, because there was no way they could do it in one go. So setting those metrics, setting the intention, that's success. And you will get that through your usability, and you can't have usability unless it is accessible. I would say that struggling through content is not a success metric. Content is the easiest, I think, well, obviously I'm biased, I think it is the easiest thing to change to make your service more accessible. Short sentences, bullets, headings, using language that users use. I mean, it's not that difficult, right? It's not massive amounts of code, because if you've heard, and you probably all know, accessibility is far more than code. For me, for content, it's about giving the people the stuff they need at the time. For some people, it's a tweet. For some people, it's a 10,000 word PDF that they want to print off and mark up. But if you don't know that, then how can you make your content either accessible or usable, if you don't know what that is before you start producing it? There's an old advertising adage. I was a copywriter, I come from the advertising world, and the adage is, you have 5 seconds to get my attention and 11 to keep it. Now, I think you've more or less got 3 seconds to get my attention, and you've got 5 to keep it. If you take a look at kind of the stats in your own user lab, you see people getting bored massively, really quickly, really easily. We don't have time for this anymore. And one of the things that I find that organisations mostly don't do is value people's time. I think that is, again, one of the biggest success metrics, and it is the easiest one to get hold of. It's the easiest one to actually say, is my service usable? Because if you're sitting there for an hour and a half getting down through 400 words, no, it's not. It's struggling through content. That's kind of what it is. So I would say to you, you have 3 seconds to get my attention. You have 5 to keep it. Please value my time. So because I've cut so much out, I've been really quick. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Got any questions?
No? Awesome. Oh.
Hi.
Hello.
I really liked the section where you were talking about your techniques to get people to care about accessibility.
Yep.
They all seem to be around kind of building empathy, which I think can be really effective. But to be a bit more cynical, we live in a capitalist society. A lot of us probably work for quite capitalist companies, and sometimes that doesn't have any effect. And I've tried showing statistics to people in our company. Actually, I find the content team one of the hardest teams to actually even just write alt text for images. It's so difficult. So have you ever tried any more extreme techniques, any kind of scare tactics or anything for the people that stuff hasn't worked on?
What stays in accessibility club, right? Stays here. Oh yeah, I'm horrible as a human. And send your content to me. Send your content team to me. We'll be having a chat. Years ago in government, I walked into a room. This is years ago, and I had a skirt on and big boots, as is my wont. And I walked in, and there was a room of 20 blokes who were all just sitting there like that, and they're like, "Yeah, what can you tell me?" They all, well, 3 of them at least, were just like this. They just made it just one of the worst meetings I've ever been in. And I said, "Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm just going to talk to you about your service." And I popped it up on the screen. And I said, and this is the F-shaped pattern, da-da-da, you've got all the research here, and I gave them loads of paper. I said, this is what people are reading, and I just grayed it out. And I said, and we've got some videos. Should we just look? And I'm being terribly professional and nice, and I just had 6 videos, people going, well, I don't get that. That's rubbish. How am I going to get through that? And then I just sat there at the end and goes, shall we talk about your service? One of the things that I use a lot is that I don't have an argument with people. I have the users have the argument with people. I'm just the conduit. So that's one. The other is that I will literally scrub out their text. That's always a good one. I do psychology of reading, and there is a technique, if it is mostly long form word type stuff, the way that you I'm just going to do this really quickly, hold on a sec. You skip, you do saccades. If you want to read it up, Jason, what's his name? Santa Maria did a great blog post on it. You skip and you make up words as you go through. Because your brain makes up, like hundreds of shortcuts for you every day. And it just skips and it'll make up the words in between, and then it will go back. It's called a regressive read if you go back. 10 to 15% of all reading is regressive reading anyway, regardless of device. But when you start increasing that, then people go, I don't trust this, and then they will disappear. I think some of those things are quite useful. The other thing is just what do they care about? I'll go for the money. So if I'm invited into the organisation, when I do the directors, I go for the money. If I'm going for the management, I'll go for efficiency, I'll go for time. So we'll do agile content techniques, we'll do discovery, we'll do keyword research and all that sort of thing, so that they can pull it through onto all their other projects. So I'll go for time for them. For content teams themselves, I normally just go in and do the training so that they can earn more money. Content designers are around 200 quid a day more expensive than copywriters. So they go for the money. Does that help at all?
Yeah,
a little bit. He says, no, not really. Thank you.
Got some things to try out. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a really quick one. Sorry. That was brilliant. Thank you. A really quick one. That's a follow-on. Would you rather not have that tweeted?
Yes. Don't tweet that. Crikey.
Oh,
I won't tweet that.
No, of course you can. Most people know. Most people know. Hello. Ooh.
Hi Sarah, that was a great talk. I'm from the Department of Health and Social Care.
Yeah.
We have a lot of challenges that I'm sure you would recognise. One of them is particularly around consultation and how hard it is to get policy teams to express consultation documents and the questions in a way that any ordinary person is going to understand.
Yep.
So I'm wondering talking about motivating factors when you're trying to persuade people, and when you're talking about civil servants and policy teams, how you would approach that.
The way that you read, right? We all think we're so special, don't we, as humans? Literally not. We're all sheep. The way that you read is the same if you're a high court judge or you're an 8-year-old. Yeah, we read in exactly the same way. So with those sorts of things, yes, I have had a couple of conversations like that. A lot of it, to be brutal, it's about hierarchy, right? Can you escalate to everybody? I just don't think that that is a useful thing. I will often do a common goal session, which sounds really jargony. Sorry. But it's not a collaboration. So what I find is that a lot of digital teams sit over here, comms teams sit over there, consultation, policy sits over here, then you've got legal and da-da-da. I will get everybody in a room and say, right, what is the goal of this? How are we as a team going to do this? Forget what team you came from. I don't care where your office is. I don't care who your boss is. We as a team need to do this thing, and we all need to kind of respect each other's industries and disciplines. Then I will bring out Google Trends and AdWords and SEMrush and I don't know, all of these things and go, what word did you want? Da-da-da. Nope, nobody's searching for it. Do you want people to get in touch with this consultation or not? If you have somebody who's higher up the chain, I will then say to them, okay, how much money are you spending on marketing on this? Because quite frankly, ain't nobody gonna find us. So I'm really sorry if that's really hard to take. Need to speak better. So I will go for... I love her. Can I take her home? I completely lost my word. Like cake and slips. Right, sorry. Yes, so get everybody in the room. Ask them what the actual common goal is. Bring your expertise, but don't do it in a kind of them and us way, not in a thing, but like, okay, nobody's going to get that, where do we put it? Always end it with a question. Okay, so I don't think that's going to work because of this. What else should we do? Give them the responsibility. If they're going to block you at every given opportunity, make them do the hard work. The other thing I would say is it takes time. So you could be doing this for the next 6 months, right? And you could be having these sessions and getting really frustrated. And then at some point it will click. The pennies will drop. The thing with the big GDS story, how many of you heard of the big GovUK GDS story? A couple, blimey, awesome. So I'm just going to paraphrase now. Basically, everybody walked in and went, I know this is going to be different and I'm going to throw glitter and lovely, everything's lovely. It didn't happen like that. There was 18 months of crying and pain and all sorts of nastiness. Josh is going, yes. There was all sorts of pain and nastiness. That's what happens when you're changing stuff and you're transforming. So keep going, tweet me, I'll send you cake.
Sorry, just one kind of to follow on from that. Yeah. We've worked in a very similar scenario where lots of people want to kind of talk about content and really want their input in it. You know, they're bringing their cats in to try and find out what's going on and they want to put a sentence in. Do you find any really good ways to kind of workflow that into it? Sorry, using a horrible phrase there, but any way to kind of allow people to contribute to what is going on to a page or into something and allow everyone to kind of have a bit of an input, but also allow you to have that approval process to say, this isn't right, you need to kind of step it back a little bit.
Yep, 2 things. Do you have a content strategy in place? If you take a look at, this is shameless self-promotion, but it is useful. It's contentdesign.london/blog. I've published an example content strategy that will have workflow and governance in it. And it is a lot easier to talk about a thing rather than at each other. So if you've got the content strategy in place, that can be quite good because it is the process. It's the whole process that you will go through, what the outcomes are, why that is that way. So that can help you with that conversation. The other is to run a crit. Do you run crits? Okay. Is that on the site? Yes, it is. I think there's a blog. Yes, there is a blog post about crits as well. I nicked it from design. I actually started life as a designer. Batik printed dungarees, shaved head. I look fabulous. And when I went to art school and you had a crit, it was basically sit down, have your peers tear your work to shreds, and then you go off, cry for a bit and do better later on. Content crits, I won't allow that kind of environment, so I do have certain rules. One being, you know, you have to talk about the product only, you're not allowed to talk about the person. Constructive criticism only, you can't say that's crap because it's not constructive. So you have these things and you have like 8 to 10 people sitting around and they are to turn to the screen and only talk about what's on the screen. and get them to do that, because it's a lot faster. Do you do the thing where you write a thing and then you throw it over the wall and then it disappears for 3 weeks? The World and His Wife has a thing and then it comes back and the tone's not right and everybody's commenting and it's a nightmare to try and get hold of. I say, bring them all together and say, right, nobody is leaving until we do the thing. Does that help? Awesome.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.